On Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister and war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a speech to Congress. Instead of being arrested and sent to The Hague to face war crimes for what's going on in Gaza, he gave a speech to mostly right-wingers. There's some Democrats in there, but, like John Fetterman, for example. Most Democrats, or a lot of them, skipped his address. There are others that did show up, although not all of them were there to clap, like John Fetterman. In fact, I want to show you the badass representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. Proud to have her represent part of my state. There she is. I will never back down and speak in truth to power. This apartheid government of Israel is committing genocide against Palestinians. Palestinians will not be erased. Solidarity with all those outside of these walls in the streets protesting and exercising their right to dissent. She, of course, held up a sign saying guilty of genocide. And on the other side, let me show you that. Badass. Legend. All right. Now, of course, she also pissed off Republicans, which is fantastic. Even better. That said, during the speech, Jewish Voice for Peace held a 300-person sit-in at the Capitol wearing shirts saying, "Not in our name." Now, they ended up getting arrested, pepper sprayed in some cases, and U.S. Capitol Police, for example, arrested approximately 200 members for illegally demonstrating inside the Cannon Rotunda, which, of course, Republicans are going to call an insurrection. Now, okay, well, good luck with that. Now, among those arrested included 6 family members of hostages taken captive in Gaza. Now, why would they be arrested with the protesters? Well, these families are rightly wondering why Netanyahu continues to block a peace deal that would allow their family members to be released and come back home. Yes, I would very much like to hear that answer as to why Netanyahu continues to block the safe release of the hostages. And why the Israeli military had actually been responsible for some of the deaths of the hostages. In, killing them, essentially. I thought the whole point was to try to get the hostages back safely. No, the whole point for Netanyahu is to just basically try to cause as much misery in the Palestinian population as possible so that they will leave so they can go and take the land. That's ultimately the goal of the Israeli military and the right-wing government. So now, the protests, yes, they did involve burning both the American and Israeli flags. Optically, that doesn't look good, right? Protesters also spray-painted a replica of the Liberty Bell and burned an effigy of Netanyahu. Now, that prompted Vice President Kamala Harris in her official duties as VP to condemn the protests, to condemn that and violence. But here's the thing. Burning flags is part of free speech. You can condemn it, sure. You can not like it, but it is their free speech. In her statement, Harris said that the flag is a symbol of our highest ideals as a nation and the promise of America and should never be desecrated. The thing is, in burning it, they're sending a message. That message is that America is failing to live up to that particular promise and to live up to those ideals by inviting a literal war criminal to speak in front of Congress. After, of course, funding a government that is doing genocide. I can't disagree with the message that the protesters are sending in doing that. Even if I don't like optically the idea of like burning our flag, right, and doing graffiti and stuff, you got to look at why they're doing those things. You got to look at the message behind those actions. So, and their message, I agree with. It's super disappointing that Netanyahu was even invited here to basically come and give a speech that justifies his continuing atrocities. That said, of the Democrats that spoke against him, we actually have Nancy Pelosi. What? Yeah, no, Nancy Pelosi's been cooking lately. All right? I never thought that I'd be like agreeing so much with Nancy lately, but that's what's happening. Here's what she wrote on X. Benjamin Netanyahu's presentation in the House chamber today was by far the worst presentation of any foreign dignitary invited and honored with the privilege of addressing the Congress of the United States. Damn, let her cook. He said, many of us who love Israel spent time today listening to Israeli citizens whose families have suffered in the wake of the October 7th Hamas terror attack and kidnappings. These families are asking for a ceasefire deal that would bring the hostages home. And we hope the prime minister would spend his time achieving that goal. But that's not his goal. His goal is to continue to wage war. That's it. This is their war on terror, okay? And I don't know if he's been paying attention, but nobody really won the war on terror. Actually, you know what? There was a winner in the war on terror. Terror. Just like how, the war on drugs won. Okay? It's just been a gigantic waste of time and money. But that helps right-wing governments. And look who's running a right-wing government. Yeah. A right-wing government that is dependent on the United States sending them money and weapons so that they can continue to justify these attacks and to continue to justify being in power. And by the way, Hamas is also being supported by the right wing of Israel. They literally are justifying the existence of Hamas with their actions. Okay? And so there's this vicious cycle that gets fed into by both sides here, where, the Israeli, military, the right wing does horrible things, and then Hamas retaliates, and then invites even more horrible things, and then Hamas retaliates, and it's just an ongoing, never-ending cycle, which is exactly what right-wingers want. You got to understand that this is on purpose by right wing on both sides. The right wing feeds off of endless conflict, and that's what we have to get away from. We need a ceasefire, number one, and then to work on a permanent deal, a permanent peace deal between Palestinians and the state of Israel. So now, there's more. Democrats. Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut called Netanyahu's speech a setback for U.S.-Israel relations that has very clearly played to former President Donald Trump, according to Punchbowl News reporter Andrew Desiderio. There are also others who just, instead of putting out statements, just skipped it. Although Ilhan Omar said, yes, I'm going to skip the speech, but I'm going to give my, invitation, ticket, whatever, to one of the victims, or I should say one of the hostages' family members. Cool. Then you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who skipped it. Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, who skipped it. That's a surprise. Senator Dick Durbin skipped it. Senator Bernie Sanders, not a surprise. Senator Tim Kaine, Jeff Merkley. Then you have Representative Sarah Jacobs, who is Jewish, by the way. She skipped it. Then you have, I already mentioned Representative Ilhan Omar. You have others. Representative Becca Balint. She also said that she's boycotting the speech because it will serve as a distraction from the prime minister's failure of leadership. So that's strong. Look, a lot of Democrats, I think 50 Democrats, skipped the speech. And I would say roughly half of Congress just decided not to show up. And I say good. But what sucks is that this happened in the first place, that he should have never been invited in the first place. Think about it, though. 10 years ago, and to show that we actually have had progress on this issue, okay? 10 years ago, there would have not been a peep from anybody having Netanyahu come over and speak. He just would have been welcomed by everybody with open arms. But now you have a sea change going on how we treat Israel. Even members of Congress have questioned our relationship with the far-right government of that country. And understand that it's not about the Jewish people. It is about the far-right government that is the problem here, okay? It's not the state of Israel. It's not the Jewish people that are an issue. It is the far-right government that it continues to drive this cycle of destruction and retaliation in places like Gaza. And so that is the issue here. Okay, and again, the far right continues to perpetuate this violence in order to stay in power. That's why they have Netanyahu, that is who is just a far right war criminal. He is doing more to endanger Jewish people in the Middle East than he is protecting them. And I think he knows that. And again, I think it's way past time for to try to have a lasting peace. But as long as Netanyahu is defended and supported by Congress in the United States, by both parties, then no, the far right is going to continue to stay in power, and these atrocities will continue to happen, and we will never have a real lasting peace between both sides. And ultimately, that is what we should all want. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.